For Egyptians, it was a difficult life living in the hot, dry desert, so they believed in a peaceful afterlife. They believed 3 spirits composed a person: the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak. Bodies had to be preserved because the Ka was connected to them. If the bodies weren't preserved, the Ka would die and the dead would not be able to go into the afterlife. Originally, they buried the bodies in the sand. Sand has a natural substance that kept the bodies from decomposing, but animals would get to the bodies. To prevent this, they started mummification, which lasted 3,000 years. Mummification was very expensive and was only for the rich and powerful. The 3 people who participated in the mummification process were the scribe, who oversaw the cutting, the cutter, who made the incisions, and the embalmer, who removed the internal organs and prepared the body. While the cutter was considered unclean and had a low position in society, the embalmer was in the class of priests. Near the tomb, the body would be stripped and placed on a board. The brain was extracted through the nose and thrown away. The brain cavity was then filled with resin and sometimes with linen as well. After that, the chest would be cut open and the main organs would be removed except the heart. At the time, the heart was believed to be the organ that had thought and emotion rather than the brain. The organs would be stored in a set of 4 jars or wrapped in 4 packages and put in the abdominal cavity. Depending on the time period, they would sometimes be wrapped into 1 package and put into the legs. The body cavity would then be washed and packed with a drying agent. It would be left to dry for 40 days. Sometimes the body would be filled with linens, sawdust, salt, or ash to keep the body firm. The body would be sewn back together and sealed with wax or metal. Sometimes, eye sockets would be filled with linen or fake eyeballs. After the body had been cleaned, it would be wrapped in linen. First, the head and neck would be wrapped, followed by the fingers and toes. The embalmer would put an amulet on the body to protect it, the Isis knot and plummet. The priest would then recite spells to ward off evil spirits. The arms and legs would be tied together, and a paper scroll would be placed in between the hands. The scroll had spells from the Book of the Dead written in it. Layer after layer would be wrapped around it, and for each layer, liquid resin would be painted on as glue. Then, cloth with Osiris painted on would be wrapped around, followed by another cloth and then linen strips. A wood board would be placed on top, and then it would be complete. A funeral and opening of the mouth ceremony would be held. At the opening of the mouth ceremony, a priest would recite hymns and the deceased would get their senses back. Finally, the body would be transported to its tomb. Before the burial, a mast would be placed over it like the famous one King Tut wore. The body would be placed in a sarcophagus or coffin to protect it. The wealthier you were, the more elaborate the coffin. Today, mummies are important artifacts from ancient Egypt, and many people enjoy going to museum exhibits to see and learn about them.